So welcome back to my channel. This is Gamer Dom, and 2019 is, well, I don't really do New Year's resolutions, but I sort of had one for this year, which was to start to do a few bolt action tournaments. I'm pretty much a novice at bolt action, not something I've played a huge number of games at, but I really enjoy the system, and I've gone a bit crazy with buying armies and so forth and troops. I've got quite a large German collection. I've also got a Japanese collection, and I've got a whole stack of Russians to paint at some point when I get the time. But I'm actually being disciplined for once and just painting through one lot at a time. So finishing the Germans, finishing the Japanese, then we'll start the Russians. Anyway, I thought, well, let me dip my toe in the competitive world of bolt action. And I kind of, years and years ago, used to do a lot of competitive gaming before I had kids. For those of you who've been in the wargaming community a long time will remember Ancient's WRG 6th and 7th edition. I used to play both of those, particularly 7th was my main sort of competition phase, and it got pretty serious and at times not much fun, actually, if I'm honest, and which is why in the end I gave up. Played doubles for a while and that was fun, but I gave up in the end, and so I kind of was sort of not sure about competing again at any kind of wargaming tournaments, because I hear, you know, I know what wargamers are like. We're very competitive creatures, and you know, we don't like to lose, and sometimes that can translate into fairly tense, shall we say, games. But I hear bolt action is a little bit different, so I thought, let me try. I also hear that some of the smaller sort of club type competitions are better to play. So one of the local clubs here near where I live is running a sort of an open competition. It's in theory a challenge match between two local clubs, but other players are welcome to join one side or the other, and I thought, screw it, let's give it a go. I also, in a moment of weakness, signed up for Warlords D-Day, June D-Day event up in Nottingham, and I joined as the Axis faction. So I thought, right, I have to say, one of the things I love about bolt action is the historical side of it. And so I thought, I'm going to do a themed army. I will build a themed army based around 1944 D-Day. Oops, sorry about that. Based around D-Day 1944, because that'll form the basis of my Warlords D-Day game when I go there, and I can get a bit of practice with the list. The competition I'm playing, which is in May, is a 1,000 points, maximum of 14 order dice, and it can be any period as long as it's just single platoon and no tank platoons. So I thought, right, I will go with, it doesn't have to be themed for that competition, but I thought, right, I'm going to do my themed army that I'll then plan to use at the D-Day event. That's the theory. So I went with German a Recce group. So my army is themed around a Recce organisation. So I was reading up on it, and I'm not a complete history nose, but I do like my history. And I was reading about the 92nd Panzergrenadiers, who spearheaded or part of a major counterattack at D-Day by German panzer groups. A number of them tried to counterattack against the landings on the beaches. Only one attack, which the 92nd was part of, managed to get, I think, to Juno Beach and link up with the static German defences there. Unfortunately, then they were bombarded by naval and air forces and virtually destroyed. But I thought, that's a nice basis of a formation to base my army around. So it's going to be Recce, has to be fast moving, has to be stuff everything has to be truck capable or vehicle portable. and I thought I'd base it around that. I also didn't want to do a super veteran, you know, fanatical army, but I also wanted to base it around this little thing. This is the Panzer II Lux. Now I also do a lot of World of Tanks online gaming, and if you've ever played World of Tanks, one of the things the community get very excited about is the Lux. This little thing. It's I think one of the YouTubers says it's the most beautiful tank in the game. I don't think I necessarily agree with that, but I thought when I saw that, obviously I know the German later war Panzer Recce groups tended to use or had looks within them. I thought, well, there's a nod to the game I play a lot of online into my tabletop game. So the looks had to form part of it, and that kind of molded the army around it, because that takes up your one tank slot, and it's probably not the most efficient way to use it, but I wanted a themed army, so that's what I've gone with. So this is my planned 1,000 point Panzergrenadier army for this competition, and there's a couple of proxies in here because I haven't got them all together. So fundamentally, as I say, the theory is everything's well, mobile and mounted and can get in vehicles, and that's where the 4 tanks at the back, 4 vehicles at the back come into it, 2 trucks and 2 half tracks. So let's start with the officer. So here we go. This is a second lieutenant. He is supported by 1 other man. The figures I've got there, I've got submachine guns. So the theory is, I mean, if I can find a nice command figure that I like, I might make them assault guns. It's a little bit cheesy, but they'll have some sort of automatic weapon because that gives them 4 shots, and as a last line of defence or attack even, they could be very useful. So second lieutenant with 1 man supporting. Then I have 2 squads here, identical. They are regular 8-man squads. They have a light machine gun, rest of the men have rifles, and each of them have 2 Panzerfausts with them. So that gives them decent anti-tank capability. Also over the back here I have, let's just move a bit closer, there we go. There we go, 2 squads here. They are identical, they are veteran grenadiers. They are 5-man squads armed with submachine guns. So they're my strike force. So if you like, the regular grenadiers here are kind of hold the objective force, and the veterans in their small Hanemags. So that's the SDK 250 stroke 1, the small half tracks. So each of those veteran squads is in each of those half tracks, and that gives them some sort of real speed and ability to get in close and personal and attack an objective or outflank or whatever I want to do. The half tracks themselves are regular. They also have medium machine guns mounted, only 1 on the front, but I think that should be enough. So in themselves, they've got quite a lot of firepower. The medium machine guns on there on the half tracks are 6 dice. The squads themselves dish out 10 dice. There's also 2 Panzerfausts on each of those veteran squads. So if they come up against heavy armour, they've got some capability of dealing with it. So that's my infantry corps. Now, I wrestled with the rest of the points quite considerably. Let's move on to the armour support, first of all, because this is another area I looked at really, really closely. As I say, I wanted to use the Lux, the Panzer II Lux. This is an 8 armour tank, only has a turret-mounted light autocannon, but that's not bad. It has 2 shots, +2 penetration, HE only of +1. And it also has a coaxial machine gun, so it's very much an anti-infantry vehicle, or soft vehicle killer, rather than a tank killer. However, it does have the recce capability, and I quite like the idea of that. So that's kind of my armour support. So the other area I've wrestled with, and this is a proxy because I don't have the right vehicle yet. So the easy route, and the way I was looking at it, was to take a Puma in this slot, because it has a medium anti-tank gun, and I thought it'd be quite effective. Now, I don't know, and I don't know whether this is a wise thing to do. I'm going to have to do some practice games, but I also am concerned about lack of HE ability within this army. So I was looking up on some, I think on Reddit, and somebody talked to me about a very, very beautifully painted, not like my scruffs, but a beautifully painted Panzergrenadier force that somebody had built in Australia, which used this armoured car. This is obviously a half-track, but this used the SDKFZ 234-3 heavy armoured car as a sort of its HE element, but also its I guess it's sort of flank holder. So he uses this alongside these two infantry squads, the basic infantry squads, to hold a flank. And the armoured car, the 234-3, has a medium howitzer on board. Sorry, it has a light howitzer on board. So only one shot, but it has a 2-inch template, and I thought, well, that's actually quite useful. It gives me that sort of HE support for my infantry, but also, I mean, you could potentially plonk a shell onto a heavy tank or something like that, and put some pins on it. So yeah, I'm still not entirely sure I'm happy with using this. But I'll try it out in a practice game I've got coming up and see how it works out. So it also has a medium machine gun on board as well, so that gives it again a bit of firepower. So that's my armoured car support. Obviously, that isn't the right vehicle, and that's my tank support as it looks. Now, other areas of interest, or things I've thought long and hard about, and whether it's too cheesy or not, is to take a mortar crew. Now, in an early version of this, I had a light mortar crew because I thought that was more in keeping with a Recce group. You know, it would you could understand a light mortar being unloaded off a truck or an half track and rushing forward as quickly as possible to support and provide some HE. The reality is, though, a light mortar is a bit of a liability in the game. It only has a 12 to 24-inch range, can fire on the move, but built into a squad like the Japanese have it, I think it's fantastic. I'm not sure it would have been quite right in you know, sort of semi-competitive army. So I went for a standard medium mortar. However, I have made it inexperienced. That's a little bit cheesy, but really I did it just to reduce the cost. Now, being inexperienced, I can't have a spotter, which means it will have to have line of sight to fire. But it's got a long range. My experience with mortars generally in the game so far is that they're very, very hit or miss, pun and pun. So sometimes they're brilliant, sometimes they're absolutely nothing. But they're kind of a threat to troops that try and stay stationary. Even to some armoured vehicles, particularly open-top vehicles, they can be a bit of a threat. So I thought, well, it's 35 points for an inexperienced one. This is late war German army. I think it's reasonable to have inexperienced things within my force, because it would have been a real mixed bag. Most of the German army was in disarray at this stage, and they were sort of putting together troops and formations as they could. So that's inexperienced. Next to it is a sniper rifle squad. So again, only regular. I would like to have had them veteran, just because I think they're more effective that way. So again, I ummed about this, whether it fitted within the theme of the army as a Recce group. But, you know, even a Recce group needs an advanced scout, and a sniper certainly can provide that function. Also, it gives me some ability to take down enemy bazooka teams, that sort of thing. Other people's machine guns, even other snipers, which I don't have any other way. So a regular sniper, and support man. So that's so basically, oh, and then forgot at the back, the trucks. Now they are inexperienced with no machine guns. They're just there to carry the load. They can hold 12 man each, which means each of my regular squads, which are 8, can go 1 in each, which leaves another 4 spaces, which can be the mortar in one of them and the HQ squad in the other, and the sniper, obviously, because he's an advanced troop, will be out there on his own anyway. I feel slightly bad because I think he should really fit in. I mean, he could fit in the HQ squad's truck, I suppose, this room, which kind of keeps my aim of having this an entirely mobile force. So there you go. That's my little army. 1,000 points, 13 order dice, which I think is pretty reasonable. 14 is the maximum, so I'm right up there at the top end. The Lux is a very good anti-infantry and light vehicle killer. The heavy armoured car, when it arrives, is a very good HE support, and also could potentially be used to pin, could even be used for smoke, I guess, to support the rest of my troops. I've got my 2 regular squads, which are 8 man with light machine gun and rifles. So what's that, 10 dice, shooting dice, which I think is pretty reasonable. You got the assault squads, which are 5 man each with 2 shots on each, so that's 10 dice, supported by 2 armoured car half tracks, which have medium machine guns, another 6 dice, so they're quite pokey. I've got the HE squad, which is being 2 men, is still a small squad, but could actually play a part at the end, especially because they're going to have automatic weapons. Snipers there to take out any kind of nuisance troops that the enemy have, and the mortar to provide some closer range HE support, all mounted on trucks and half tracks. So cheesy, I don't know. Hopefully not. It's supposed to be, I can justify everything that's in this army. I think it fits the model of a 1944 German Recce group that have been pulled together to go and counterattack. And so I feel fairly comfortable with that. So anyway, there you go. That's my army. It's going to have its first outing on Friday when I go down to the club and take on Jonathan. My Jonathan, who's another bolt action fiend. He's going to be doing the same competition as me. He will probably bring along a veteran American army, or possibly, yeah, I think that's what he'll bring. He'll either bring a paratrooper or a regular American army of 1,000 points. So it should be a good test to see what this thing does against it. And whatever it is, we should have a fun game. We usually do. So I shall report back if I can about how it goes and how this army performs, and as I start to sort of refine the army moving forward for the next couple of months until the competition in May. Anyway, hope you found it useful. Any feedback, always welcome. Please put it in the comments down below, and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. Trying to start doing I have a World of Tanks video channel, but this is another sort of sideline showing my other interests, which is around tabletop gaming, and I'd like to try and build this one up as well. So please subscribe if you can. In the meantime, have fun, enjoy whatever games you're doing, and I will see you again soon. This is Gamer Dom signing out.